Whew, back to the tea table. I'm getting ready for today's live. We are going to be talking about the monthly challenge for August. Everybody curious? So I'm super excited. Gosh, we've been doing these challenges for half a year now, since March. So March, April, May, June, July, August. So this is the 6th tea challenge we've ever hosted at Tea Curious. So we'll be talking about what that's going to be for August and what, just a couple of the methods that you guys can use for the challenge this month. So welcome to tea practice today. I see Steven. Good morning, Steven. Jay, nice to see you. Jay, Z.Zipu, nice to see you. Nice to meet you as well. Casa International Del, welcome. We are going to be talking about today's tea challenge for the month of August at Tea Curious, which is going to be cold brew. And I'm really excited because for those of you who have joined our challenges before, we've been doing a lot of really intense challenges lately. We've done pu'er challenges, we've done chashi, kind of like tea art challenges, we've done tea design challenges like that. We did a one tea focus challenge over in June where we drank the same tea, just one tea for a period of 3 to 5 days. So some pretty hardcore challenges that you guys have done that I'm really proud that you guys have done with us. But this month for August, it's going to be pretty low-key. We're going to ask you guys to do cold brew tea with us. So hopefully we'll, explore a little bit more about cold brew. I know a lot of us don't always cold brew a lot. Does anyone here tend to cold brew quite a bit? Because honestly, me and Steven don't always, where we kind of like try to stick to our hot brewed, in a gaiwan or in a kyusu. But I think the point of a challenge is for us to kind of break out of our comfort zones, kind of change up the pattern a little bit. So even if you don't always cold brew, I hope that you take this opportunity to kind of step out of the boundaries and step out of our comfort zone like we do, and see what your tea will do, what will happen when you just have a different kind of preparation with the tea. So the challenge is going to go from today, August 1, until August 7. It's going to be 7 days. And we're going to try to aim for 3, if that makes sense. So 3 different sessions of cold brew and cold preparation in general. So I saw Joe pop in. How's it going, Joe? Ika Detrav, Danae from Camellia's Treaty, Ivan Zawiski. Welcome to tea practice today. Burrito 8. Celia from Tea Blossom, welcome. Bonsoir. Joe says I do it at least twice a week. For special stuff, I always have a big picture of grocery store Taiwanese black in my fridge. And then Zipu says, been cold brewing hojicha during these hot days. Yeah. For us here in Las Vegas, oh my god, it's like in the 40 degrees Celsius. For us, 100 degrees plus every single day. So me and Steven do typically hot brew tea. But I think we need to do more of the cold brew stuff. I personally don't do it all the time. I think I'm not the only person who does this, but you kind of tend to get into a pattern. You get used to how you brew tea on a daily basis. So I hope that, whenever we do these, it's just an excuse for you to kind of step out of what you usually do. And if you already do cold brew, then I really hope that you share with us what your techniques are, what you tend to do with your teas, your different ideas, and just showing the example of someone doing it, because whenever we see someone else do it, we kind of like get excited and inspired to do it as well. So yeah, let's get started. I will be cold brewing, and trying a couple different methods, not just cold brew, but 4 different teas today. Zizipu said that they've been cold brewing hojicha lately. We actually have some hojicha on the table that we'll set up for some cold brew also. We have some 2020 Forever Spring from my teacher in Taiwan. I'm so excited about this one. This is a really, really amazing Taiwanese oolong. So I want to show these 2 off because, you have a light tea and a dark tea. You can use both for cold brew. And I do believe that you can cold brew oolong. Even, balled up oolong that's a little bit tighter. Rolled can also be used for cold brew. So we'll cold brew these 2, and then we'll also try a different kind of cold prep method, which is to brew something hot and then shake it in a tumbler with ice to kind of just cool it off really, really quick. This is a method that I don't use all that often, but I learned last year when I was trying to do the mixology competition here in Vegas, tea mixology competition, and I'd never held a mixology, you know, baristas. What do you call this again? God, a shaker. I've never held a shaker in my life before, but I was really impressed by what that can do to your tea. It's very different from just pouring it over ice, so we'll see what happens with that. We'll probably do that with a Darjeeling. And then finally, we will be doing what's called koridashi, which is ice brew, with a sencha. We're going to use a sencha koyu from Yanoko tea that we're going to just put over ice and let the ice melt onto the tea to try to slowly extract it really, really cold and bring out some more umami and sweetness out of it. So 3 different cold brew methods, which we'll do today together. Just really quick to kick off the challenge for August. Also, by the way, August is my birthday and also Steven's birthday. So, you know, I decided I'd date someone with the same birthday month as me so that we could just put our birthdays together and be practical about it.
Is that the one reason?
It's the only reason. It's the only reason. Anyone else? Any cold brew techniques that you guys like to use? Has anyone done koridashi before? Does anyone use, you know, cocktail shakers to prepare their drinks? Lattes, boba milk tea. You can just regular hot tea poured over ice you can do for this challenge. You can make tea ice cubes. There's so many different things you can play around with for this challenge, and I'm really excited to see what we can work out. And even if it doesn't work out, I think there's just joy in the journey of seeing what works, what doesn't. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do right now. Actually, I've never cold brewed this particular hojicha before. So this is hojicha satsuki from Yanoko tea. It's a pretty roasty hojicha, and it's not my absolute favorite for brewing just hot. I love the rest of Yanoko's teas, but this one is just a little bit too roasty right now. I have a feeling it might just be a little bit too fresh. But I love the taste of roasted barley for a cold brew and just roasty teas in general, so I think this will make a really good cold brew candidate. So we'll hit this up in our cold brew containers. These are like $1.50, $2 maybe from IKEA. So these are really, really cheap, and they do have these little silicone plugs that come over them. And what we'll do is we'll put some tea in the bottom, and then we'll fill it up with cold water, and that's pretty much it. Stick them in the fridge overnight. That'll be our cold brew method number 1. If you're one of the people who've been really kind of like, wow, we've been going really hard with the Tea Curious challenges lately, which many of us have, this is a super simple way to cold brew tea. So yeah, let's get that started. And yeah, let us know what you guys are drinking today. It's been a little bit. Steven and I have been, you know, out of town for a couple days. It's nice to be back in the tea room. What are you guys brewing today? How's your week? How's life? How's everything? And again, if you haven't met us before, we're Ree and Steven from Las Vegas over here at Tea Curious. And yeah, we haven't had rain in a long time. It's like the summer of summers for us. It's so hot here. It's crazy. Okay, yeah. So I like to get these containers with a big kind of like mouth that you can put tea in and also clean. I know that IKEA and other places also have these kind of like narrow bottles, but these are kind of a nightmare to clean. So if you can help it, I'd highly recommend not using one of these, because even if it might seem, you know, a little easier to put the water in the tea, and it's so difficult to scrub the tea water out. If you have tea stains that form, or if tea gets stuck, it's just a nightmare. So try to pick one with like an open mouth. You can even use just a glass, you know, a drinking glass like this that you leave with a tea overnight, or a mason jar. Super simple. And then let's start with the Forever Spring. So this is a Spring 2020 oolong. Really excited about this one. This is probably the best harvest of this tea I've ever seen from my tea family. This is what's called Four Seasons oolong, or soji-chan. They call it Forever Spring, but it's a kind of oolong that is super floral and really economical, really, really cheap. For what it is, it's just incredible. I think it's like $8 an ounce at Tea & Whisk in Las Vegas here. Really, really good stuff. Question is, should we be using good tea for cold brew? I honestly have a mental block with that too. Does anyone feel that way as well? I feel like I can use like quote unquote crappy tea, like tea bag tea or grocery store tea for cold brew. But sometimes I hesitate to use a really good tea. I hesitate because I'm like, oh no, I could have gotten more steeps out of it. Should I have done that? Should I just use a cheap tea? But honestly, you know, if you get enjoyment out of the process, I don't think it's ever going to be a waste for you to use tea of any kind. If it's within your budget, you know, like I think it's just a mental block that we have. That if you have like a really beautiful shangpuer or, you know, a nice dragon well, you can't cold brew it. But honestly, on like a learning about tea kind of level, you really don't know your tea unless you try to experiment with it in a variety of ways. It's kind of like taking a friend out for, you know, hanging out. If you can only hang out with your friend when you're watching a movie, but you can't stand them when you're eating, or you can't stand them when you're having just this one-to-one talk, I don't think you really know that person. So when we try to change up the method we use to get to know our teas, and even if it's not the most quote-unquote optimal, I think we really get to unlock more about the tea and understand more about what its potential is. I think that a good tea brewer should be able to bring out a tea in different preparations, because it's easy to make tea in like an ideal situation. Like you have a perfect water, perfect kettle, you got your favorite kyusu, you've got the right materials, you got your favorite tea. I think it's easy to make good tea there. But if you can make the tea work for you even with a mix-up in the method, I think that's when we get really confident and really, really good at making tea. Let's fill this up. By the way, the water we're using is our Tea Curious formula water. I really recommend that if you're doing cold brew, please, 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 please use good water. We always are big proponents of water here at Tea Curious, but because you're not allowing, I mean, even more than hot brew, like the quality of your water will show up so much in a cold brew because it's just room temperature or cooler. So use filtered water at the very least. Don't use tap water for this unless you guys live in some snowy wonderland where your water comes from like the tears of a goddess or something. I know some of you do, but we don't. Our water comes from the Las Vegas tap, so it's like the tears of like a demon, I guess. The tears of the desert. It's just bad. So if you have any chlorinated water, if you have water that is hard, you'll know that your water is hard if it leaves a residue on your cups. If your stuff stains easily, if it's hard to wash, like water stains out, like look at our, we just rinsed these, but you can still see there's like little dots on the water because our tap water is so hard. So if we use that to cold brew our tea, it's going to be, it's going to mute the flavor. And that's always important for tea, but super important for cold brew because there's nothing between you and that water. Gotta use good water, okay? Now, when you're using Taiwanese oolong like this, I think it does need a little bit of help. So if you can, especially have like a tie-on like mason jar, a screw-on mason jar, just try to give it a little bit of shake just to get it started. I don't recommend that you do this when you're just normally brewing your tea because you don't need any extra extraction when you're brewing tea. But just to get it started, oolong like this has like little air bubbles inside that you kind of want to dislodge and just get it started, you know? It's already starting to open up, which is good. All right. Any other cold brew thoughts? I saw you guys were talking about cold brew stuff earlier. Mel, it's nice to see you. Zizipu says, ice brew, yes, the anticipation while watching the ice melt is so tantalizing. We were talking about koridashi earlier. Zizipu apparently has had it done too, and it's really fun. We'll do this in a little bit. I think the most head-scratching part of ice brew is just waiting for it to finish, or cold brew in general. It's already changing color. Look at that. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it's already changing color. So I would pop this in the fridge. Why I'd pop that in the fridge is because when it's lukewarm, you're kind of in the middle of cold brew and hot brew. So you're getting kind of like the middle of both worlds. But the colder you're getting, the less kind of like bitter components and caffeine that gets extracted out. So my opinion is that if you're going to cold brew, you might as well just do it all the way. So I would put this in the fridge so that we can really play with the way the temperature extraction changes. We'll be extracting more sweet, kind of smooth, umami flavors, because different things will be extracted at different temperatures in the tea brewing process, which many of you guys know. So we'll pop this in the fridge in a little bit. It's already starting to get some color in. So all I did, you notice I didn't even weigh it out. I just tend to cover the very bottom of the container. This is the same container here. I just cover the very bottom. But if it's like a big kind of like Taiwanese oolong tea, which is more heavy, you know, it's got a lot of volume to it, or not as much volume to it. If it's a tea that is heavier than it looks, like Taiwanese oolong, it's not very fluffy, it takes up very little space, it's more dense, then I just go half. Another tea that you'd go like maybe half season is maybe like a shangpo that's compressed, or shoupo tocha, you know, the really compressed tiny like bird's nests pu'ers. You can put like just about half, cover about half the bottom of the container, then fill it up. And then for something like this hojicha, I would probably just cover the whole bottom of it and then call it a day. You guys are free to weigh it out if you'd like to. I think something we do is around like 15 grams, 10 to 15 grams per liter. But honestly, cold brew for me is supposed to be really easy, super, convenient. Something I do when I don't want to think about it too much. So I just like to eyeball it. And then the good thing is, if you don't like the outcome of it, you can leave it in the fridge for a little bit longer and it's gonna be just fine. So this hojicha is coming out a little bit more dusty, as you can see, than the oolong. So I covered the bottom. But I'm willing to bet that because of how the hojicha is, it's more fluffy, it's more light. Even if it looks like I put more hojicha by sight, this is actually about the same weight by leaves, if that makes sense. Because the oolong's more dense, it's more balled up. So this might look like a lot, but I think it's about the right amount. So we have a light tea and a dark tea to get started. Yeah, it looks so pretty. You can also use, like a thermos to cold brew if you'd like to. But I do like having the glass to watch. And for those of you who are like, Ray, I thought you don't like glass. I'm like, it's kind of worth it when it's cold brew. It's nice to look at. I find that it doesn't make as much of a difference. We have a friend who side-by-sided cold brew with like porcelain versus glass, and there is a difference, but I think it's less of a difference, and I'm more willing to use glass for cold brew for sure. It's just pretty. It looks really, really good. Another question is how long to leave this? I would say anywhere from 4 hours to like 48 hours, depending on how strong you want it to be. I left stuff in the fridge for like a week before. Not recommended, but it still tasted okay. So yeah, and then some people also cold brew with spent leaves. Anyone who does that, you hot brew the tea and then you use the leaves afterwards to cold brew one more time, just to get a little bit more juice out of the leaves. That's something you can do too. So you can either start with teas you haven't brewed yet, or leaves that you've spent while hot brewing them. Either way, you'll just get more mileage out of the fresh leaves. And then probably after this, you can cold brew them one more time if you have a high quality tea. So yeah, look how like satisfying it is. We should really do this more, Steven. Yeah. It's like a lava lamp, but edible. That's gross. I kind of like light it up from the bottom. And yeah, it's already starting to change color a little bit. I like to give my tea just a little bit of a shake just to make sure they're all kind of submerged. You don't want any like dry pieces of tea to be floating while the others are infusing. Just keep it even. Yeah. Cool. Already starting to change color. And again, we're using the Tea Curious water formula, which is a relatively soft water. I find that soft water tends to do pretty well with cold brew. Our water is kind of similar to Fiji or Trader Joe's artesian water. If you guys have that, that's what we modeled our water formula after. So yeah, questions, concerns? Did I do anything wrong? Let's see. What have I missed? Joe says my tap water is legit, but I still use spring water for tea. Yeah, I find that drinking water and water for brewing tea aren't always the same. There are some waters that I love for drinking, but I really don't like for drinking tea. Yeah. Like, we don't drink our water. It's a little light. I mean, I like it, but I don't mind our tap water for drinking, but not for brewing. And then Celia from Tea Blossom says she watched our attempt to press the Dragon Well cake today. For those of you who don't know about this, we once pressed a Dragon Well cake in this room with a hydraulic press. That's the second reason why I dated Steven. I knew he had a hydraulic press, and I'm like, man, I need a boyfriend who has a hydraulic press so we can steam some leaves and make a cake. So that's the two reasons. The first one, for those of you who missed it, is August is both our birthdays, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have to celebrate another birthday another time of the year. And for those of you just joining in, we've just been working on some cold brew stuff. The challenge for August at Tea Curious is cold brew. We are having a much deserved break from our really intense challenges. One Tea Focus, Chashi Challenge, Pour Love. Oh my god, we've been going really hard. Teaware Olympics, oh my god. So, you know, kudos again to you for those of you who've done every single one. So many of you have. But I think this month will be a little bit more low-key. We'll just take it easy. Unless you guys want to go all the way. It's fine. Shiloh, Hiddestog, nice to see you guys. Sylvan T. Froge T says cold brew is the hottest trend coming up in Europe. Interesting. Anna is here. I mean, Anna. Gosh. I made some high mountain Shanlin Shi last night. Thinking a quick flash of hot water might be beneficial for ball-shaped oolongs, but then it's really up to preference. Yeah, I agree. What Anna's saying is that if you are worried about trying to get more flavor out of your oolong, you can also pour hot water, just really quick to get them opened up, or even just do a single steep of the oolong, drink it hot, and then use that to like put it into the cold brew container you're using. Just to get the process of them kind of unfurling going. I'm relatively lazy, so I just toss it in there, and I'm willing to wait a little bit longer and just shake it whenever I'm like, oh, I'm so impatient, can you guys get started yet? But either way, there's just so many different things that you can do to enhance your cold brew, change it up to your desired result, which is just tea practice again. So I really think that cold brew is super underutilized. We, as a community, I don't think use it enough, and there are ways that we can use it to just make more versatile teas, you know? Yeah. Shiloh says that a lid's super necessary for a cold brew. I agree. By the way, if you don't have one of these, if you just have like a open container like this, try to just cover it with like a silicone lid, or like a plate, just so that you don't have like the extra smells in your fridge get in. You don't want to have like pork flavored oolong. As much as I love Taiwanese food, I don't think I would like to have orange chicken flavored. Which, by the way, I know orange chicken's not Taiwanese, but our local Taiwanese joint has the best friggin' orange chicken on the planet. Okay, like, if you could find me a better orange chicken than their orange chicken, let me know, because they're just amazing. Everything else is amazing. Yeah. Okay, next one. Let us do the ice brew. So we will go ahead and use a gaiwan for this. Ice brew, also called koridashi. It's a Japanese term for just ice brew tea. Some of you have mentioned it already. ZZ mentioned it earlier. Shiloh's talking about cold brew gyokuro. Yes, it's a Japanese method, as far as I know, that is used to kind of extract more smoothness and umami from the tea. So to use this method, I'm just gonna go classic and use a shaded sencha. I mean, not a shaded sencha, a deep steam sencha. It's called sencha koyu. It's from Yanoko tea. We've been talking about these senchas a lot from Yanoko. They're phenomenal. They're incredible. They're awesome. I'm picking a deep steam sencha because I want to bring out some more umami and some more depth. So we'll use that today. And then I will brew it in a gaiwan. A gaiwan is not the most typical vessel to brew ice brew in. Most often you have like a kyusu like this, and even better than this kyusu, I would say a kyusu like this. And what's going to happen is you're going to put the ice inside the teapot and then sprinkle the tea over the ice, so that as the ice melts, it's also slowly brewing the tea. Really, really cold, okay? Another method you can do is sprinkle the tea inside the pot and then put the ice on top. But I find that it sometimes makes the tea a little bit too bitter, because when you have the ice on top of the leaves are like this, the ice is weight. So the ice is kind of like slowly pressing on the leaves. So you're extracting a little bit more bitterness. So I find that when I do the ice brew method, I actually like to sprinkle the leaves on top. I will do that with this gaiwan. But the reason why I say most people would, probably want to use a kyusu like this is because the more surface area you have in your vessel, the more ice you can put, and then the more tea you can put. So I don't have very much space here. The reason why I'm using the gaiwan, I'm aware I'm sacrificing the surface area a little bit. It's because I like the material a lot. It just brews this tea really, really well. So either way, just have like, basically have like a vessel that's relatively open, so you have enough space to put ice inside. And basically you're gonna let the ice melt with the tea to extract it. Basically you're ice brewing it, which is really cool and a really cool party trick. If you guys go to the same parties I do, which is just tea nerd parties, I don't think you should bring it to your like high school friends who you don't talk to anymore parties, because I don't know, they might think that you've really gone off the rails. So yeah. Yeah. Couple questions that have come in so far. Mel says, how many steeps can you get from this, or is it just one steep? I think you can do 2 or 3. Zizipu says that sparkling water is great for cold brew, extra texture. I totally agree. We did a cold brew with maple water. We should do that again, Steven. Try the cold brew with maple water. And then we also tried brewing with La Croix not too long ago, which is really fun. So all of those things would be totally in line with the challenge this month. It's hashtag cold brew challenge. Yeah, cold brew challenge, I guess. Cold brew 2020. We haven't found the hashtag for it yet. Forgot. Cold brew 2020. Yeah, cold brew 2020. Over on Instagram, and then also on Tea Curious, we have the channel open for you guys who want to get in the challenge already. It's just a 7-day challenge. We're keeping it a little bit short this month, just so that we can keep it compact and easy, because we've had so many intense challenges lately. So yeah. So let's get this started. Like I said, I will, oh, thank God, this froze. I told Steven at like 12 o'clock, can you please like freeze some ice of our water? Because this is actually from the fridge, but I don't want to use the fridge water ice. We will use the good water ice. Thank God. Look how beautiful and clear it is. This is actually a really good demonstration of how the ice is different. Okay, so check out this ice. This is from the fridge. Then check out this ice. Look at how clear the Tea Curious water ice is! And then how cloudy the other one is. I mean, it's also like, the air particles that get trapped inside, but a lot of it is the fact that this is a little bit more like soft water, so there's less particles in it that will cloud up the ice. So that's just really good ice. So you can test this out. If you have like purified water, compare it to your tap water when you make ice, you'll get really, really clear ice a lot of the time when you use purified water. So that's our secret sauce right there. It will make a big difference though, for sure. Yeah. So put the ice over inside. They're like half frozen. It's okay. The tops, just the tops are now. Ooh. So pretty. All right. Use tongs if you'd like to, but I like playing with my food. So, and then we'll try to just break these up so that we have a little bit more area for the tea to melt into. And then we will sprinkle the tea just on top sprinkle the tea just on top to get it ice brewing. So you want surface area here. You want like you don't want the tea to get layered on top of itself, so just pour enough in to cover the ice. And one more time, you'll see people sometimes put the tea first and then the ice on top. That's totally okay as well. But I find that, especially when you're dealing with, not a gyokuro, but like a fukumushi sensha, something that's going to be a little bit more easy to get bitter. I mean, gyokuro gets better too, but the weight of the ice is also like pressing in. So the whole like, oh, don't press your tea bag because it's going to over extract the tea. Same thing happens with ice brew. I find that I like the result better when the ice can just naturally melt with the tea rather than pressing down on it. Okay, so if you put your tea first and then you put the ice on top, it's gonna go, so the tea's gonna be like, there's weights and stuff. Especially over this long period of time. I find that just sprinkling it on top is more gentle. And then I will put this actually in the fridge typically, especially if I'm putting the tea on the very bottom instead. But I think in this case, we can just leave it like this. And I found, we did a side-by-side of this. Should we put the lid on and off? I think we found that we prefer the lid on, but I can't close the lid. I'm just gonna have to break it.
Just use the lid to push it down.
I don't want to break the lid. This is a nice guy one. So that's our ice brew, okay? How long will that take? You know, if you live in Vegas, about 30 minutes. But if you live in Canada, I forget who it was, but someone joined us for an ice brew at one point, and they're like, it's been like 5 hours, it hasn't melted yet! So, ideally, once you do this ice brew, I would put it in the fridge to let it kind of melt very, very slowly. I find that the longer you can draw out this melting process, the better the effect will be, because the ice will be super cold. It's going to be more consistent. If you're kind of like leaving it room temperature, it's going to be not as consistent. I think it's just fine if you want to leave it at room temperature. But yeah, I find that for the most optimal, super sweet, super rich, super like umami brew, put your ice brew in the fridge as well. This is all in line with the theme of the more consistent you can make your tea brewing process, the better. So if you start at ice cold, the slower that you can get it to room temperature, the better. Because when we're leaving it here without the fridge, it's gonna melt quite quickly. The graph of it melting is gonna be quite steep. But I think this is okay. Yeah, so now we got 2 preparations going. We got our cold brew, which is already changing color. So you guys can see. Already got some color on these. And then we got our ice brew, which, you know, we demonstrated how wonderful our water is to be able to make these beautiful, super clear ice cubes. Look at how clear these ice cubes are. Look at how beautiful they are. Oh my goodness gracious. This is the ice cube from the refrigerator with our crappy tap water. And then these are super clear. I can almost see you guys through. Wow, I can still see you guys through the ice. It's so clear and so beautiful. This water is amazing. It's going to make a big difference in the outcome of the cold brew for sure. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah. Last thing we'll do today, if you guys are not the patient type, and if you like better party tricks than ice brewing, we will do an ice shaken tea, in which we will start with a hot brew tea, and then we will shake it in a tumbler or cocktail shaker if you have one of these at home. You can do that using like any kind of like metal kind of like tumbler, and then just put like a drinking glass on top. It's going to be like a just quick and kind of homemade cocktail shaker. So that's what we're going to use today. And we will use a Darjeeling for this, because when you're shaking the ice with the tea, you're going to bring out a little bit more of that kind of fizzy, bright, kind of frothy thing going on. It's going to taste a little bit different than just pouring it straight hot over ice, which you can do too for the challenge, but I just want to show this method for those of you who want to try something a little fancier. I'm so fancy! Again, I have never done this before until last year during the mixology competition. It's very intimidating to think about shaking tea and stuff because I am not that great at it. But if I can do it, I think you guys can too. Yeah. What else are you guys up to? If you guys are joining in, we are talking about the Tea Curious Challenge for August. It's going to be cold brew. We've got some really good ideas so far. Ice brew, using cold sparkling water, flash steeping the tea before you cold brew it to see if it extracts better, you know. Yeah. Lots of options. Let us know what you guys are drinking from far away. We are happy to be back home. Yeah. So much going on this month. I'm seeing some of you who joined us for the Activist Tea House live from earlier. Thank you so much for being there. It's been so exciting. Some of the Activist Tea House tea fam is here too. Jin and Tea, Hernandez Jess, Jessica's here too. Marker from Steep Tea. So we're really excited about that as well. So if you're wondering why I haven't spoken about it yet, it's because we just came back from home and we're a little scrambled. Just getting back our bearings. But I'm really excited for that project as well. Please follow it at activist.teahouse. I'll be posting that later on in the stories as well with the details for August challenge. August is a big month for us here at Tea Curious, so we're really excited to share that. And really grateful that you guys take the time to practice tea with us and stuff and inspire us and keep us going. So thanks. It's just so fun to be in tea. Every day I'm just like, wow, tea is so awesome. I hope you guys feel the same way. Shiloh's. For teas that need some heat to unfurl, to reveal more balanced flavor, I will pour in 1/4 hot water and 3/4 cold water, then place it in the fridge. So that's another cold brew technique you can use that Shiloh from Love Ordinance saying. So instead of doing what I did, which is I just put the tea in and then I just put cold water all the way through, you can also, either steep it one time hot, drink that, enjoy that, then put that leaf material into your cold brew container, which is what Anna suggested. And then Shiloh's method is to go 1/4 with hot water and then 3/4 with cold water, which will change the profile of the tea as well. We've tried that before, and it's completely different from going cold water and then hot water, or just a tiny bit of hot water and then all the way cold water. So even if cold brew seems very simple, and I do like to keep it a little bit more simple, there are so many techniques you can use to get a better result, and I'm really excited to experiment with those methods as well. And yeah, just see what else we can do with our tea, I read this book where it's called Dream of Red Mansions. It's an amazing tea book, you guys. It was written in the 1700s, and it's like a snapshot of a Chinese aristocratic family's life. It's a fiction story, but it's based on real life. Anyway, main character dude is like super hoity-toity about tea. Like he's tea fan. He really likes good tea. But what they do is he would brew the tea, and while it was hot inside his teapot, they would dunk the tea 3 to 4 times in a bowl of cold well water to cool down the tea before you poured it out. I'd never heard of that before. Have you, Steven? So hot brew the tea, let's say like in a teapot, and then while it's hot brewing, they dunk the tea 3 to 4 times in a bowl of cold water. So hot tea, hot teapot, cold basin, so dunk it. So then the cold water becomes kind of like lukewarm. They dump that, get some more cold water, and then put it in, and then dunk it again until the inside gets cold. I've never seen that before, and I'm kind of interested to try it. It seems very counterintuitive, but you just never know until you try it. So we'll probably try that at some point. It's called Dream of Red Mansions. Also, I think Story of the Stone. I've been looking at it to help us with our kind of like explorations into water. History of like water quality in tea goes back way back, and that's one of the books that came up that proved that even in the past, before we were kind of messing around with water, people have been doing it for a long time as well. Okay, last method we'll do today together. We will hot brew a Darjeeling and then shake it with our tumbler with some ice to kind of chill it down really, really quick and try to get a little bit of froth going in it. I am not a really good cocktail shaker handler, so if I can do it, you guys can do it too. But this is probably one of the fastest methods to chill down tea. I know that a lot of our tea house friends who make cold tea will make it this way, just so that they can save a little bit of leaf, and then it also looks a little you know, fancy to say freshly handshaken iced tea. You know what I mean? All right, so how do I do this again? It's been a long time. So you're brewing the tea, and then you put the ice into the cocktail shaker, which ideally I should have pre-chilled this to make it super, super cold, but it's okay. I'm an amateur. You can use tongs for this if you'd like to. Usually people use ice tongs, but again, I like to plate my food if I'm just at my own tea table. So I think you just fill it up halfway with ice. Use good ice for this as well if you can help it. Use filtered tap water or spring water to make your ice cubes, because with cold brew tea, the quality of the tea will come out quite a bit. And then very quickly I will pour this into the other container first. So the ice is in here. We'll pour it into the other container just to cool it down a little bit, so it's not just boiling once we pour it into the ice. Yeah, if tea goes everywhere, you have the right to laugh at me. It's happened before. Yeah, let me try to cool it down one more time using our fairness pitcher. I'm just trying to cool down this tea so it has a little bit more time. And if I somehow break the seal on this, it's not going to spill tea. Hot tea everywhere. So what I'm doing, I'm just cooling down the tea just a tiny bit, so that when I put it over the ice, it's not going to be totally boiling. Okay. And then, gotta be fast about this. Pour it. You'll have a seal, pop it, and then just shake it. It's not a perfect seal, so I'm gonna take it off the side. Perfect. And then, I should have had this earlier, strainer, and then pour it over. Hey, I didn't kill myself. Wonderful. And it's cold! Oh my god, it's cold! Oh my goodness, this is so cool. Thank God. So, there's no more ice left. And it's cold. It's actually cold. It's shocking, isn't it, Stephen? What? So now you have handshake and iced tea. Can you believe that? It's crazy. How is it? It worked out! I'm so happy. It did work out. If you're faster than this than I am, you're not supposed to have the ice melt because it's going to dilute the tea. But it actually turned out really, really well. Here, try it, Stephen. It's really, really tasty. Oh my god. And it's so fast. The reason why this isn't fitting is because I actually lost the other half of my cocktail shaker during the competition last year. Someone else took it from me. So my fancy cocktail shaker set actually got split up. So if you are doing this, make sure you have a perfect fit on it. I should just push it a little bit further. It would have sealed, but I was scared. I haven't done that in like half a year, but it worked out. And it's really fast. It was like 5 minutes. So now you have iced tea. It's like legit cold, isn't it? It's very refreshing. So I'm pretty happy about myself. Yeah, so if I can do it and I am really not good at it, you know, you can totally do it. That's really delicious. It's totally different than the profile you get from just pouring it over ice as well. It's got a little bit more fizziness, a little bit more kind of like bounce to it. Because when you're shaking the tea, especially if you're able to get a really good seal, better than I can, you can really shake it. you're kind of jostling the tea back and forth between the ice cubes, introducing air into the tea, and make it a little bit fizzy, a little bit frothy. If you're really, really good at it, when I was practicing, I could at the time, but now I can't. You can actually even get like a little bit of froth on top of the tea, which looks really, really attractive when you pour it over into a cup or a mug or, you know, a glass. So yeah, we survived. I didn't spill hot tea all over myself. High fives! Hey, I don't know. I was a little scared there. Yeah. That's delicious. That's really, really good. So 5 minutes, that was really, really fast. Yeah, you should just do it. Any questions? You guys have been cold brewing as well. Tyler from Hakuna Matalas has had some cold brew sencha. Celia's had some jade snail in the fridge. I think some of you have also tried starting up your cold brew as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So we have 3 methods. We got our ice brew. We've got our cold brew here, which you can use with any single tea. I think, you know, more or less any tea works. We've had the suggestions from the chat that if you have something that's a little bit more balled up, like a compressed tea or a balled up oolong, you can always just flash steep it first to get it opened up, or start with a little bit of hot water and then top it up with cold water. Many different options you can use to get your tea cold. And then finally we did our ice shaken method, which I mean, I'm not gonna win any competitions. I got 4th place last year, and I remember during the judging I would go like, because it's stuck. You weren't there, Steven, don't nod at me. It's stuck, and I was like, they hooked me up with like, you know, like the headset, and I was there with my blazer. And like actual mixology people who probably like could like do this in their sleep, and I was like, it's stuck, because this can get stuck if you like hit it too hard. Oh my god. Whew. And then I forgot to ice my drink. Oh my goodness. It's just, yeah, it's okay. So don't be nervous, even if you mess up, even if it doesn't come out correctly. It's just all fun. You can laugh about it later. Highly recommend doing any of these methods for the challenge, which will run from today until the 7th. So 7 days you guys got to do your cold brew. And even if it's called the Cold Brew Challenge, you'll find it at hashtag, you know, Cold Brew 2020 on Instagram, and then also on the Discord. You can do whatever you'd like to, as long as it involves a cold preparation of the tea. So if you want to do hot iced tea, like pour it hot over ice. If you want to shake it like we did. If you want to do a cold brew, just, you know, toss some leaves in a bottle, leave it overnight. If you want to do boba milk tea, if you want to do, you know, matcha lattes, whatever you want to do that has a cold component in the challenge is totally up for grabs. So I'm really excited to see what you guys can come up with. Cold sparkling water, you know, cold maple water, whatever you'd like to do, feel free. And then for those of you guys who are in the Southern Hemisphere, we said our sorries over on Discord. We're sorry for doing a cold brew challenge in the middle of your guys' winter, but at least you know that we're thinking about you. And maybe you can one-up us with like some snow brewed tea, you know, like collect some snow from outside and cold brew it with the snow water. Come on, you can one-up us. Questions, concerns, other ideas, let us know. This is really, really good. It's actually cold. I know I'm like, it's actually cold because I'm shocked that it worked. If you think that I practiced some of this stuff before our lives, I really don't, because I'm willing to, if something goes wrong, I don't want to hide it, you know? But yeah, it actually worked out really well. It's really, really cold. It's really tasty. That's just so lovely. Why don't we do that more, Steven? Gosh, if only I could just get the other half of my tumbler. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Anything else, Steven? It's only been about 40 minutes since we put these guys in. 30 minutes at most. It's already starting to brew up. We're going to put these in the fridge just to make sure that they're a little bit more consistent. If you're cold brewing, to keep it safe, please put it in the fridge so that, you know, you don't grow bacteria inside your tea. And so it just keeps fresh and is more consistent in the brewing. How is our ice brew doing before we sign off? The guy one is cold. Ice brew is melting beautifully. I kind of want to try some of it already.
Still some ice in there.
Yeah, there's still some ice in there, but it's melting. Like I said, it's Vegas, so ice is going to melt very quickly. Let us try a little bit of this cold brew before we sign off today. Think about what we learned in Chashi and Teaware Olympics as well. Try to use teaware that will complement your cold brew experience. I really like glass for cold brew. Again, I know that I've always kind of ragged on glass, but I think it's a really, really good match for cold brew. If you're going to serve your tea that's been cold brewed, you could even just kind of like swirl it around with some ice first. You can do this with a little stick if you're serving for other people and not just like yourself, like I'm doing right now. Get it nice and chilled. You can put it in the fridge to pre-chill it. Let's see how this goes. So this is the ice brew. I'm just gonna have a little bit of it because I can't wait to see what it tastes like. Oh my god! Oh my god, it's so beautiful. It's so thick. You see this, Steven? See how thick this is? So this is just the first bit of the ice brewed sencha that we started up. We sprinkled some sencha leaves over some ice cubes, and it's only been about 15 minutes, I would say, even 10 minutes. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but look how thick the liquor is. It's really, really thick. A lot of color for just a couple minutes too. So let's see how this goes. Oh my god. Smell it. It's amazing. It smells so strong. Wow. This is again called Koridashi. That's Kouridashi. Sometimes you'll see it spelled Kooridashi. It's Japanese ice brew, which is why we're using a Japanese tea. Okay, let's shut up and drink it. Oh my god! Wow! That's crazy! What the fuck? That's crazy! That's really, really good. Steven, don't gulp it. Sip.
Ooh.
That's like fireworks. That's insanely good. That's delicious. Oh my god. So we tasted just a tiny bit of the Koridashi. And again, why we do the ice brew method is because you're extracting very, very little bitterness, but as much, almost as much sweetness, theanine kind of texture, because tea, when the tea leaf is brewed, the components will release differently based on the temperature. It just so happens if you use ice, you'll extract more of the really smooth, kind of sweet, umami, savory, very flavorful components. When I told Steven to sip, it's because it's so packed with flavor, texture, presence, aroma, everything, and aftertaste that if you gulped this, I would have killed you. A little bit. This is like a firework. It's crazy. So I'm gonna take a tiny sip, like the sip that you take when you're playing the world's smallest violin. And it just coats your entire palate. It's so strong, but with no bitterness. Is there any bitterness, Steven?
None.
Bitter?
None.
Astringent?
Zero.
Dryness? Nothing. So, wow, that's incredible. That's something that you'd pay a lot of money at a really fancy restaurant to experience, because it's so amazing. That's really good. And that's even with us not really using the best possible setup. Again, if you could have like a bigger like teapot or even tray to put it on and sprinkle the tea on top. You could even get a more even, slow infusion in the fridge, do it over the course of a couple hours. But even this 10-minute kind of thing here, it's just incredible. It's just crazy. Wow. And it tastes so different from usual. It's like a smoothie. It's just crazy. It's almost got like an alcoholic kind of like intensity to it. I know we don't drink alcohol very much, but it's just so strong, that if you have a friend who's like, I can't taste tea, why does tea not taste like anything? I dare them to taste this and think it doesn't taste like anything because it's so rich. Oh my god, it's crazy. Wow. Okay, you guys really have to try this. Make sure you use ice water. Good water for your ice, like filtered water, etc. That's amazing. That's just crazy. Wow. My mouth is just coated with like Japanese tea garden goodness. It's insane. Whew. So I call that a really good first day for us. Yeah. Questions, concerns, comments, let us know. We are going to be hosting the challenge here on Instagram over the next 7 days, and then also on the Tea Curious server. On Discord, we'll pop up the Discord invite again on our profile. Yeah, and you'll be able to post the channel over there. Our ask is that you do 3 different cold brew preparations over the next 7 days. So from now, August 1, Saturday, until Friday next week, August 7, you have those 7 days to come up with different ways to prepare your tea cold. Share it with us on Instagram on #coldbrew2020 or on the Tea Curious server. And yeah, we'll be choosing one winner at random to receive 30 grams of this tea, actually. One of our favorites, Forever Spring. It's a Spring 2020 harvest, really, really delicious tea. This tea was used by my friend Christine to make a drink at the same mixology competition I keep yapping about last year. It was a favorite drink of the competition. A really versatile, really gorgeous spring harvest. This is probably the best Forever Spring from the tea family I've ever had. So I really, really, really am excited to share this with the winner, who we will pick at random. So no matter how simple, how over the top, how like crazy your cold brew is, even if you show up with just a cold brew like this that you popped in the fridge with a mason jar or something, you're ready to go. And I know you'll learn something new from this process. I know we will. Steven and I don't always cold brew, but whenever we do, we're just like, oh my god, why don't we do this more? And that's what I hope we can do together. If you can also have that like, wow, oh my god, I can't believe it just worked kind of moment, I'm gonna be really happy, because then you will get the confidence to make tea in many different ways and not just with a kyusu and like hot water or, you know, like a perfect situation. I want you to be able to make tea come out in different ways. I want you to be able to be confident in making it come out in different ways. And yeah, the more you can master the tea in different ways, different techniques, I think the more confident, the more like versatile of a tea brewer you are. And I think you guys can do it. Yeah. You guys can totally do it. For the record, a lot of the tea people we really respect like cold brew. They might like pour using like a really fancy clay pot, but they also know how to cold brew tea, and that's a test of a really good tea maker. Because if someone's like, I can't brew tea unless I have hot water, you know, which is me a lot of the time, which is why I need the practice, you know. I don't think we're quite there yet. So let's keep working hard. Let's like push the boundaries a little bit, explore what we can do, inspire others. Please post your pictures on Discord or Instagram, get other people doing it too. Because if people can kind of see that it's okay to use good leaves for cold brew, I think we can do a really good thing. Because I think a lot of us, myself included, have this idea that if we use good leaves for cold brew, it's kind of a quote-unquote waste. But is that a waste? I don't think that's a waste. That's amazing. Really incredible stuff. We'll become more well-rounded after this challenge, I think. We always do. I know you guys can do it. You guys have been amazing at the challenges. We learned so much together with you. And we're really happy to be able to do that. Yeah. Last little bit, for those of you who were wondering about Activist Tea House, that's going on as well. You might have joined Marco and Jin during today's live at the Activist Tea House account. We're not going to talk about that too much during this live, but we will during the week. And also next week during that live I'm hosting on Activist Tea House. So please follow it if you're into, you know, social issues and climate change and environmental concerns, and if you're just wanting to figure out how all of these things apply to tea, highly recommend joining that account. It's activist.teahouse. We'll post it over on the stories together with details about this challenge. Lots going on in August for me and Steven, but we're really happy to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been really fun. Yeah. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Enjoy your weekend wherever you guys are. Good morning, good evening, good night. Bonjour, bonsoir. Maraming salamat, thank you. And have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye, guys. We love you guys. Jazz, are these jazz hands? Or are they goodbye? Are they